I'm Bob Mingus. I'm head of delivery for the Cambridgeshire Guided Busway. The other night I was giving a presentation that's supposed to last half an hour and I talked for an hour, so do stop me if I go on. We are going out to see the thing, so I'm not going to take questions just now, and I'm going to run through a fairly sketchy run through of the busway, because we're going to be out there for a couple of hours this afternoon. I've got a couple of colleagues with me, and there are people who've been involved in the planning, in the construction here as well at the conference, who I'm sure will be happy to answer questions. So, brief overview, a few words about the delivery of the busway, and a few words about the operations. Again, Andy Campbell is here from Stage Ground. Peter Lee from Whippet will be joining us later on as well. They can talk about their perspectives on the operations. It's very, very simple guided busways. Again, for those of you who don't know, it's a big bit of steel with a little bit of steel on the end and a bit of rubber on the end of that. It's not complicated at all. There are no lasers, no buried wires, no computers involved. It's nice and simple, and it works. And as Bob Ted was telling you earlier, it's been working for quite a few years now in Germany, in Adelaide. There's a couple in Japan that I need to add to my spotters list, and in Leeds and Bradford and Ipswich, and for a period in Edinburgh and in Crawley. The guide wheel runs on a concrete kerb. Again, very simple, hence kerb guided busway. What are the benefits of a guided busway? This is Essen in Germany. That's been there since 1985 in the middle of an autobahn. We had a lot of help from the people in Germany as well as from Bob in terms of developing how we built the thing. Narrow right of way, clearly demonstrated there the way it threads under that bridge. The ride quality, and again, some of the busways in the UK haven't had superb ride quality. We went and basically copied what the Germans had done, did quite a bit of work, and somebody here from Arup who was heavily involved in that detailed work on the ride quality. If you want to quiz him later, I'm sure he's capable of being bought a drink. Segregation, it's obviously not a road. Drainage is a big issue in Cambridgeshire, and a big issue for most places now, but Cambridgeshire particularly, where it is very flat, as you will see, and we're in the floodplain. The reduction in hard surfaced area is actually a big issue for us, and most of the busway does not have positive drainage. And David Eve from PB will tell you exactly how much drainage there is because he designed most of it. And the ecology. We were quite taken with the fact in Germany they'd lifted the tram tracks, they just put the tram ballast back and all these weeds grew. Well, one man's weeds and another man's biodiversity. And again, we've put the old railway ballast back in, and you'll see it's greening up quite nicely out there. So this is the route of the busway. We are currently here. I should use the fancy pointer, shouldn't I, rather than point at the screen. We're in Cambridge. That is the A14, that's the M11. A14 off the East Coast ports, an extremely busy and congested road. East-West link, Midlands to the East Coast ports. North-South link from the A1 up here down to the M11 and the Channel Tunnel in East London there. And then everybody that can't afford to live in Cambridge, which is nearly all of us, lives to the north of Cambridge because those to the south commute to London, and we all then drive down all these roads here onto the A14 in the morning. There are mile-long queues on roads like the B1050 and the A1096 to get on the A14, heavily congested. The guided busway bypasses all of that. The red is the guided. There are two sections, the north section and the south section, down to Trumpeton Park and Addenbrooke's Hospital. We also serve a new town at Northstowe, which hasn't been built yet, but is about to kick off. It's been much delayed. So we're on this key transport corridor. Much of the development of the guided busway came out of a study called CHUMS into the A14 corridor, and the guided busway followed from that. Graham Hughes is going to say a bit more about that later on this afternoon. A few key facts. The northern section, 19.3 kilometres. Orchard Park, there's a branch, that's a shot of a bus on the Orchard Park branch. We'll be doing the whole lot this afternoon, the entire round trip. You'll see the thing. So almost 25 kilometres of busway. We've tended to say the total busway route length is 40 kilometres, but actually I think it's more than that because the buses branch out in a number of more directions than we envisaged, with buses starting at a place called Somersham, for example, in the morning. So there's probably more route. The potential for the route length to increase based around that trunk corridor is huge. A bit about the delivery. We submitted our first business case to DFT in July 2002. Got provisional funding in 2003. Those of you who worked with the DFT will know it's a long-winded process of 3 different stages of funding. Went through the public inquiry, September to December 2004, a long time ago now. And we finally got a transport and works order. It's built under a transport and works order. It's not highway, it's a bit of private infrastructure built under a transport and works order in December 2005. It's only once you've got your contract and everything else in place you actually get final funding approval from the DFT, so schemes in the past have fallen even at that hurdle. And we opened in August 2011, and there's been a lot of focus on the delays, etc. And yes, there have been delays towards the latter stages, but actually, business case to opening in 9 years and 1 month for a £100 million plus scheme in the UK is not bad. And we've overtaken a few people on the way, quite a few people. Those of us who've been engaged with Thameslink when it was Thameslink 2000, we've overtaken quite a few schemes along the way. So looking at construction, this is the basis of construction. These are the guideway beams when they were being manufactured. They are generally 15 metres long. They are straight to a tolerance of 2 mil on both the curb upstand and the running surface, which is very high tolerances. To make a curve, the straight beams are actually used, and that face is curved in the moulds. And again, there are people here who can tell you more about the detail of that if you're really interested in that than I can. The track is then made up, the beams are then made up into track sections with these spacer blocks in between to get the gauge exactly right. And there are little neoprene pads in here that go down to 1 millimetre in thickness, so you can gauge the thing to within 1 millimetre, and you can just see there's a bolt head there and there. There's 2 big bolts run right the way through, which are tensioned up, and that's the track section. That weighs 30 tonnes for 15 metres of track, and it's loaded onto this special trailer you can see here and transported down the guideway. And actually the design case for the actual concrete beams is this fully loaded trailer, because it weighs more than a fully loaded double-decker bus. The track section is then taken into this special gantry, picked up on this orange cradle, and lifted through and laid on the ground in front of the gantry. And again, there's neoprene pads to get the final levelling, so it was levelled to within 1 millimetre of final level on these concrete foundation pads. Variety of foundations. Some places, particularly through the floodplain, there are piles supporting the busway. Elsewhere there are pad footings with different foundation treatments underneath, because the ground is quite variable in Cambridgeshire, from bad to worse, basically, in most places. So that's the construction of the guideway, the heavy civils, but also we built 2 park and ride sites. That's St Ives. We'll be going out there this afternoon for a comfort break and a look at some of the facilities. That's the far end of the route from Cambridgeshire. And you can just see at the top of the screen, that's St Ives bypass there. The town centre is just up there. It's only another 200 yards to the town centre, so it's quite conveniently located for getting people off the bypass and into the park and ride site. Also built stops. This is one of the stops, and again we'll get a chance to have a look at one of the stops this afternoon. I hope if we can do it without holding up the buses behind. And you see we've got a ticket machine over here. We've got an IBIS information point here. We've got real-time information here, and we've got a notice here saying that the Sunday service is being increased the week after it opened because we couldn't cope with demand. It's been increased twice since we opened, and we've only been open 6 weeks yesterday. The Sunday service. So actually keeping pace with all that has led to a few perhaps not quite as slick and polished and quality as we might desire, but it's either that or queues of passengers waiting for buses. So we've had to respond very quickly to that. It's beginning to settle down now, though still very, very busy, even with enhanced timetable. And again, I'm very pleased with the stops. It really does feel like high quality light rail, top end light rail in terms of the stop features. At the junctions, it's very simple. It's a highways junction with a set of traffic lights. The bus comes out of guidance and goes back into guidance. They have a priority system using the real-time system developed by ACES, who are based in Cambridge. That's been very impressive. I'm very impressed with the way that worked, except we didn't get one light this morning on the way in, and I was quite upset about that because you get so used to getting a green light as you go along. But there are certain scenarios where you don't quite get the light. If a bus goes the other way and then somebody presses the button to a pedestrian to cross, it has to run that and it stops the bus. So it's not 100%. There are times when it won't do it. But again, very simple in terms of this. And this was a big issue. How long would they stop the traffic for? Would we need gates? Would it be dangerous? And once people actually saw it on the ground, they realised what it was and they were quite happy with it. The traffic is stopped for 20 seconds, and I mean from a green to getting a green again, 20 seconds for the bus to go across. It's what we said at the public inquiry, it's what we're delivering in reality. Another thing we've been playing about with quite a bit, and this is during the construction phase, is burst-through crossings, and they have these in Leeds. We've actually put extra ones in and built more of these than we originally planned, because we discovered the faster you go through them, when it's as straight as this is, the smoother the ride is. So originally there wasn't going to be a burst-through crossing here. We're going to build a long diversion for this track, which basically just goes out and serve a few fields, a dead end. There's 2 of these, 3 of these in fact in total, and we're going to build expensive diversion tracks, and also even to compensate the farmers for not being able to access their land. And played about with it a bit, had a chat with them with Professor Alberg in Germany and with Bob here, and put some additional burst-through crossings in and saved themselves quite a bit of money, and no real disruption to the running of the busway at all. As I say, the drivers kept saying, let's try it a bit faster, and the faster you went, the smoother it was. There's a couple that have a bit of a bump on them that we can't quite get rid of, but the others are very smooth. Moving on to the bus operations. And again, this is something that a lot of work has gone into, and something we're quite proud of at the County Council, the way we work with the operators here, and the operators have come on board early and really well here. All the operating risks and costs are taken by the operators. It's what we call open access. In fact, all the operators had to sign up for access in advance. Originally we had 3, that fell to 2 because Stagecoach swallowed one of the local operators. Or rescued them possibly, I'm not sure which. So there's now 2 operators on the busway, but technically Stagecoach are 2 operators, and then there's Whippet, whose bus you see here, and they'll be supplying one of the buses this afternoon, who are a local operator. So we've got multiple operators, which does make things a little complex in terms of ticketing. They pay an access charge, and the access charge is set to cover all the operation and maintenance costs on a sort of open book arrangement. It'll be set annually. So they're covering all the council's operating and maintenance costs. So that's something that is very positive from our point of view in terms of their commitment to the scheme. We have got multi-operator ticketing in the form of smart cards. These, actually at the stops, you have to choose which bus company's tickets you want to buy, and that's just down to the regulatory regime for buses in the UK, which I could talk at great length on, which is a favourite subject of the slightly bizarre arrangement. And if there's anyone here from Europe or from outside of the UK, we'll set up a special seminar to try and explain it to you, because it's just, they don't get it, they don't understand what we're doing. Quality partnerships under the quality partnership framework, with that's expanded to cover the particular details of running the guided busway, so things about drivers being trained to run the guided busway, maintenance of the guide wheels, etc., enshrined in that. The bus companies guarantee a minimal level of service for 5 years. I think that's really looking quite academic, because they're running about twice as many buses as are in the minimum service after only 6 weeks. That's for 5 years. They've got this exclusive access. After 5 years, anyone that signs up to the quality partnership can run buses. They've got to sign up to ticketing schemes, sign up to all the rules, etc., and that lasts another 10 years. So that's all enshrined. What we do after 10 years, no one's quite worked out yet, because the legislation for quality partnerships only covers 10 years. So, a few early numbers. Forecast patronage was 3.5 million journeys per year after 3 years. That was the financial forecast, that it would take 3 years to rise to that. We actually carried over 2,000 people the first day, never mind the first week. 56,000 journeys in week 1, and that's in the middle of August in the school holidays. Month 1, which was the middle of the first week in September, we carried 224,000 journeys. So you can see we're rapidly heading towards achieving that 3.5 million journeys. And if my take on the loadings this last 2 weeks is anything to go by, we'll hit that without any great difficulties. And it's worth saying that there have been a couple of railway lines reopened. It took them 6 months to get to these kind of numbers. Ebb Vale, Stirling Alloa, that the railway enthusiasts love to quote you, we're at 400,000 a year, 600,000 a year. We're rapidly overtaking them. Indeed, there's 1 or 2 tramway undertakings ought to be a bit worried about the way we're heading with patronage numbers. Frequently asked questions. What we do when a bus breaks down? Well, we'll tow it out of the way. We've got a call-off contract with this company, we have this tug. Have you painted it up in livery? Shame we rebranded after they'd done that, but they did that off their own bat. And they come in, they back this, it's not guided, it's slightly narrower than a bus, they back it down the guideway, they hitch a bus up. We've not had to do it in anger yet. We did trials with all 3 different types of buses we've got in the busway before opening, just to make sure it all worked okay. And it worked very well. The aim is to get them there and the bus out of the way within an hour. And the typical scenario on the rail line between Cambridge and London is if a train breaks down, you're stuck for 3 or 4 hours before they get you out of the way. It's a big bone of contention around here, people being trapped on trains and forcing doors open and all the rest of it. So the aim is to get people out of the way. And we won't be holding people prisoner on buses, I hasten to add, while we're doing that. Next most frequently asked question, what we do when it snows. We have what we believe to be the world's only guided gritter. It's a standard gritter chassis with some guide wheels added, and my colleague Adrian did a lot of the work with this. We've used this in anger last December when we were doing some test running, and that very, very cold spell. Everyone else claimed to have lots of snow. We just had it very, very cold in Cambridge with a little bit of snow. And it sprays brine just on the 2 guide wheel tracks, so it limits the amount of salt we're spraying around, which is both economical and good for the environment. So that will probably get its first real test in a couple of months' time when it's got to do 25 kilometres, not just a couple of 100 metres, but we're geared up and ready for that. What do you do in an emergency is the next question. You also get asked, again with an emergency exercise, and we worked out some rules with the fire brigade. They drive a fire engine down the guideway. Again, the fire engine is slightly narrower than a bus, so it can do that. It doesn't do very quickly, it does it about 10-15 miles an hour, but that's fine. And ambulances then use the maintenance track alongside. And we did a test exercise one pleasant summer, July evening, before the busway opened. And again, I have regular exchanges with certain railway enthusiasts, and I did suggest that they try doing that on a railway line sometime and see how far they got with the fire engine next time a train caught fire. But actually, the incidents we've had so far are all to do with people injuring themselves cycling or being taken ill cycling, not on the bus at all. So that's it. Reliable, fast and frequent, and we believe it's doing exactly what's said on the tin in terms of the journey.